log in. Enter, rejoice, and log in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and log in.
Summer is finding its way to fall. The season is inviting us to rediscover our connection to that which binds us. The time is always right to begin again in love. So let us seek love, not in the form of fragmented affection for some of us, some of the time. Here, we look for love that is a cohesive attachment, that each and every one of us might recognize and carry gladly within us as a promise. In this spirit of replenishing that which can so often go awry. Let us gather.
If you have a chalice or even just a candle at home, now's the time to light it as a ritual that helps us stay connected to each other. Please join with me in saying our unison words. We light this flame as a symbol of new life, enlightening our way, as a symbol of the warmth in every human heart. Let the lighting of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of hope, of peace, of love. May we share that light with all people.
As we light the traditional High Holy Day candles, along with our chalice this morning, we say the Shehekianu, a prayer of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Spirit of life, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this season. Amen.
Good morning. I am Marie Luna, the Director of Congregational Life here at the Fellowship. Today is a special service in honor of the Jewish High Holy Days, and we are so glad that you can celebrate with us. If you are joining us from another Unitarian Universalist congregation, welcome. If this is your first time visiting the Fellowship, I want to extend you a special welcome. I hope that you will reach out to me to get more connected here. One way to do that is to join me for a newcomer breakout at the end of the service. More information on that later. Today's service is being led and supported by Reverend Christina Leon Tracy, our Senior Minister, Reverend Leah Angiri, our Associate Minister, Allie Peters, our Assistant Minister, Jacqueline Kottman-Hittner, our Lay Worship Leader, Steve Seek, our Music Director, Dan Van Sickle and Mark Urness, our wonderful guest musicians, and Adam Robinson, our audio-visual technician. Thank you to everyone who has made this morning's service possible. It is now time to settle in. Let's take a deep breath together. Allow yourself to come into this sanctuary from wherever you are.
Return to the home of your soul. Return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul.
Good morning. It's great to be here today. Today, we're honoring and reflecting on the Jewish High Holy Days. During this time of the Jewish year, we have the chance to let go of the past, and so we get the chance to start over again. We get the chance to begin a new program year together, and we get the chance to begin again. In 1 week from today, we're going to have the opportunity to gather right here in this building, in our religious education classes, in this sanctuary, and we're going to gather to do just that. After such a long time of our bodies being apart, we will begin again together in person. We will begin again as community. Next week, in our religious education classes, we'll celebrate exactly this. We'll gather together as a large group, all of us, everybody from our young people in grades 4K through 8th grade. And we're going to gather as a fellowship family. Even though we're of many different ages, even though we come from many different kinds of families, even though we all have different ways of looking at the world and different ideas about the mystery, we're here to help one another learn and to grow together. Today, we've got a story that reminds me of us. It's inspired by the ancient epic or really long poem called The Conference of the Birds. And it was written a long time ago by the Sufi Muslim writer Fakhruddin Attar. And I think it's really interesting because he lived to the year 1221. So that was exactly 800 years ago this year. We have the journey of the birds. Once upon a time, all the birds in the land decided that they needed a leader for their community, a leader they thought would make their community stronger. So representatives of all the bird species gathered together to discuss finding a leader. A leader will tell us the right things to do, said the robin. Our leader must be wise, said the owl. A leader must believe we are each important, big and small, said the sparrow. I want the leader to be caring, like a friend, said the dove. Yeah, the leader should help us share and get along better, said the jay. A leader must help us feel safe, said the hawk. Oh, I know where you can find such a leader, said the hoopoe bird. It's the smorg, and he lives far away from here. Ooh, the birds were very excited. They said that they were willing to go anywhere to find such a leader. Well, it might be dangerous, said the hoopoe. A few birds looked troubled, but all of the birds voted to go find the smorg. The hoopoe took off, and all the birds followed. They flew at night. They flew in sunshine. Days and days passed. Some birds got tired and they left the group. Other birds were filled with doubt. How did they know that the smorg really existed. Only the hoopoe had ever heard of this bird. Some of the doubters dropped out, but others kept flying. One valley was filled with fiery mountains. All the birds were afraid. I'm too small to make it over that mountain, worried the sparrow. No, keep flying. We'll make it together. We'll help you. And they did. The strong flyers helped the weaker flyers. The birds with good vision helped find food for the group. And along the journey, the birds learned how to better respect, share, and care for each other. It seemed that every bird had something special and unique to offer that made the journey easier. Finally, the hoopoe announced, "We're here!" The other birds looked around in anticipation. "Where's the s'more? We don't see it," they cried. "Come on, it's over here," said the hoopoe. The birds gathered beside the hoopoe, and suddenly they realized that they were standing on the edge of a lake. They looked in, and they saw their own reflections. Then they understood. The s'morg was not another bird. The s'morg was all of them, and all of them were the s'morg. They remembered that each of them had something good and strong and special inside of them, and that each bird had gifts to bring to the community. They were all that was needed to keep the community strong. They now knew that together they could do anything. The end. So we at the fellowship are robins, owls, sparrows, doves, jays, and hawks. We're one. We are beginning this new year together, each of us one part of our larger fellowship community. We celebrate as a fellowship family. We celebrate as a flock returning to one another, and we celebrate beginning our new journey of discovery together.
Each year, during this annual High Holy Days service, we include the Litany of Atonement as a responsive reading. This is a traditional part of any service during the High Holy Days in the Jewish tradition and in this congregation. But this year, we will sing the responsive line instead of speaking it together. I invite you to choose whether you'd like to sing or to speak the following phrase, which we'll demonstrate for you now. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. Let's try that together. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others.
We forgive ourselves and each other.
for the selfishness which sets us apart and alone.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For losing sight of our unity.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
What does it mean to make an offering? Back when we were all gathered together here in the building, and we will be welcoming you all back next week. The offering involved passing the basket, allowing people to put in whatever they could offer that week. It had a real tangible feeling. And then our ushers would come to the front as we sang, "From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live." It's still true. We give and receive as we are able, and this community allows us a chance to do that in so many ways. In our words, our actions, our commitments, and our financial resources. We know that there are always those among us who are in need. We're here to help. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Reverend Christina, Reverend Leah, or to myself if you are in need of financial or emotional support so that we can offer help. And if you're one who's feeling stable and able to give, we ask that you do so that our ministries might be able to continue for the months and years to come.
We are in a deeply spiritual time of year for people who observe Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Each fall, the fellowship observes these cornerstones of the Jewish calendar as the seasons turn and the new year begins with all its sweetness and stock-taking. The Jewish lunar solar calendar determines where these holidays fall in our Gregorian calendar, providing an exciting and very Unitarian opportunity to continually reframe them with readings, reflections, and music. To pull the curtain back a bit, you may be interested to know that the worship team for this High Holy Days service looks carefully at the calendar to guide its theme and direction each year. Does that Sunday fall closer to Rosh Hashanah, leading us to celebrate the promise of the new year and the resolutions, intentions, and blessings to come? Or are we closer to Yom Kippur, inspiring a more somber reflection on responsibility, relationships, and perhaps even reconciliation with self and others? Today, uniquely, we find ourselves right smack between them, which guides us to consider that perhaps these holidays aren't actually separate from one another at all. There's a reason that Jewish people intentionally observe these 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as a continuum rather than an intermission. Even though Western calendars list them as separate events, Judaism asks us to live in the liminal or transitory, often unsettling space between the two holidays, the space in which we sit for a while today. These particular 10 days, the 10 days we're in right now, with Rosh Hashanah last Tuesday and Yom Kippur this coming Thursday, even have their own name, Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. 10 days to be in awe of the spectrum of human experience, to look back and be in awe of the year that has passed, and to look forward in awe of the blessings and challenges sure to come. Though, depending on where you find yourself spiritually, the other name for this period of time, the days of repentance, might resonate with you more. So, are we supposed to be positive and upbeat today, wishing one another Happy New Year and making optimistic resolutions? Or are we supposed to grieve the losses of the year that has passed, atoning for bruised relationships and missed opportunities? Judaism says yes, both, acknowledging that this space, these days of awe, can be both sweet and painful, and challenging us to do the work of breaking down this illusion of separateness. For this is a time of celebration and solemnity, of embracing the reality that sweetness and challenge aren't separate parts of life, they are often intertwined. Rosh Hashanah's apples and honey are all the sweeter because we know the bitterness of the Yom Kippur fast is coming. And the fast is made easier by the promise of forgiveness and the knowledge that the new year, symbolized by the braided round of challah bread, will arrive again. Lashana Tova, everyone. May this new year, 5,782, be a sweet one.
We are people of all ages who bring our joys and concerns to this virtual and this physical space. We hope that you experience a welcome that helps you find the connection of mutual support, a spirituality that helps you find meaning, peace to ground you, and a zest for rediscovering life as it unfolds. We invite you to let us be a resource in our common quest to celebrate happy memories, seek healing and wholeness, and continually rediscover whoever and wherever we each might be on this path of existence. For those attending virtually, we invite you to share in the chat box now whatever joy, concern, prayer request, or intention might be on your heart or mind. If you wish to share more deeply, a member of our care team will be hosting a breakout room on Zoom after the service and would love to be present with you. And on this, our service honoring the high holy days, we also invite you at this time into the Jewish ritual of tashlik. In the Hebrew Bible, the prophet Micah tells Israelites that their God will hurl all our iniquities into the depths of the sea. And the ritual of Tashlik is just that, casting out that which we must let go of. What is it that you need to let go of? Take some time to reflect on this question now and during the coming week. And then when you are ready, we invite you to find a body of water near you, perhaps a river, a creek, or whatever water you have access to. And throw in some salt or breadcrumbs or something else soluble to mark yourself, casting out whatever it is you feel you need to let go of in your own life, hurling it into the sea. For care and connection during the week, please reach out to myself or Reverend Leah or contact our office. If you'd like to be included in our weekly care email, you can feel free to email anyone on our staff or fill out our website form. May the joys and concerns we have typed into the chat box and our reflections that we hold in our hearts' silent sanctuaries, may they draw us together so that our joy is amplified, our sorrow comforted, and our life journeys witnessed. May this moment of silence help make it so.
And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer.
The litany of atonement that we heard earlier, both read and sung, excuse me, was written by the Unitarian Universalist minister Rob Eller Isaacs. But it frames the spiritual challenges of forgiveness, both for ourselves and for each other. The last line, for those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness, is the one that we are focusing on today. The illusion of separateness. This past year or two with COVID has challenged us to recognize that despite our distance, we are interconnected. Right now, while we are here in this sanctuary and you are in your various homes, we are all together in this worship experience. As we planned this service, we remarked to each other that we didn't want only the Jewish music in this service today. We acknowledged that Unitarian Universalist hymns can fit this Jewish celebration beautifully, and that Jewish songs in our hymnal can also be found on other days, not just the day that we have set aside to honor Jewish tradition. That in itself is an illusion of separateness. These two holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, as Jacqueline noted, are not separate, nor are we, as Unitarian Universalists, entirely separate from the experience of our Jewish kin. Of course, if we were not raised in the Jewish tradition, we will not have the depth of understanding and connection. But the lessons of grief, lament, atonement, celebration, sweetness, and joy are available to we non-Jewish Unitarian Universalists as well. In that spirit of connection, Ali invited you to participate in the Jewish ritual of Tashlik at home this week, to cast into a body of water whatever it is that you wish to leave behind this year as you move into the next. And I know I have plenty I would like to leave behind. Now I want to add to that. I want to add a point of connection. If you choose to participate in Tashlik, and I hope you do, be sure to bring along a small container to gather some water and bring it with you next Sunday to our Mingling of the Waters service. That ritual, like the Jewish one, also relies on the metaphor of water and the power that it has to heal and unite. This week marks a connection point between the 18 months that our fellowship worship was only on Zoom to the future that will include both in-person and Zoom worship again. As you cast your concerns, your wrongdoings, or griefs into the water for Tashlik, take that moment to transition, to reconnect to what comes next, to bring the water with you as a Unitarian Universalist symbol of regathering and reconnection. As we cast aside the illusion of separateness, we celebrate our reconnection next week and honor that we have, in fact, been connected all along. We have been connected all along.
Let us further challenge this illusion of separateness by singing, those of us who are physically together here and those of us who are spiritually together on Zoom. We would be one. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high call.
When we hear about the illusion of separateness, it's usually a trauma narrative. Someone independent and self-contained is struck by calamity. Out of the blue, someone or something intervenes, and through that sudden proximity, everything is tragically altered. A good example of this is my COVID story. In the winter of 2019, my partner Amy and I read with interest and then increasing worry and cold horror as a new coronavirus started making big international headlines. When Amy suggested we invest in a large box of high-quality masks, I rolled my eyes at the pack rat tendencies of my beloved, although I grew to be glad my scoffing was ignored. So we had them when they were hard to come by. But initially, I thought about family friends in Asia. I carried them in my heart. But after all, that was happening far away. Of that, I was confident. Having lived briefly as a child in South Korea, I had embodied knowledge of how long it took to get there and back, and how not close it was, how separate from me and mine. And then, as the pandemic rapidly swept the globe, came the trauma of realizing what a foolish illusion it had been to consider myself too removed to be impacted. What are oceans and continents and my own concept of identity to an airborne pathogen in a global world rife with inequality? Absolutely nothing at all. It can be incredibly painful to be united when suffering is on the collective menu. The declaration of the Jewish High Holy Days is the opposite. Instead of illusory separation as traumatic, we are promised that however singular or alone we might feel at our lowest or loneliness, we are plugged into a greater love and care and community than we can ever fathom. And that it is a blessing to be held by such an encompassing network of existence. When we look with this lens, examples abound and resound. Cultural and biological diversity are entwined more than previously documented. For example, bears and indigenous humans have lived side by side for millennia in the forested west coast of Canada. A recent partnership between scientists and indigenous wildlife managers just realized that the grizzlies form 3 distinct genetic groups, and where these bear groupings live align closely with where you find the 3 indigenous language families. The boundaries, they don't correspond to waterways or difficult landscapes, and so probably the bears remain genetically distinct, not because they can't travel, but because the region is so resource rich that they haven't needed to do so. Once we get past the illusion of separateness, the false idea that how people and bears decide where to live must be different, then the potential for right relationship presents itself. One First Nations group is already planning to reduce their annual salmon harvest because they now understand that that can better support bears' needs. And big picture, the idea that local knowledge and localized management are critical gets reinforced. Or, to move on to another example, how aspen trees, above the surface, of Earth's rich brown blanket seem to be their own distinct units, one tree next to another tree, and so on. And yeah, okay, they are actually considered singular organisms. But underground, oh, it is a different story. That separateness is but an illusion. The main life force of an aspen family, science calls them patches, is the extensive interconnected root system they share. Even if severed, aspens remain genetically connected for, well, forever. They are hardy, quick-growing, they provide habitat, biofuel, and wood products, and their existence brings us beauty and knowledge, including knowledge of ever-present roots, linking and supporting. To wind down this service, we turn once again to the Kol Nidre, shared by Mark Urness and Dan Van Sickle, as has become our tradition at the service. One reason this is such a central element of High Holy Day observance is that it captures the ache of knowing that we are bound to one another in life, that when we transgress against another, it causes pain, that mere words cannot erase the damage done, that even when amends are faithfully completed, the cycle will launch all over again because none of us are perfect. But instead of staying there in that valley of isolated hopelessness, the music, this ancient music, heard this season across the globe, promises us that we have a fresh new year in which to revel in our connection to one another by simply showing up, by trying again, by knowing we share connection and doing our best to honor it, by giving in to this music of the ritual and the metaphorical music of life itself. Here we are with one another, imperfect and side by side, it tells us. Our separateness is but an illusion. Listen.
Thank you. As we come to the end of our service, we carry this time together, this music, and the flame of our chalice in our hearts, even as we extinguish the flame. Please join me in our unison words. As we extinguish this flame, let us go our ways with hope in our hearts, with our spirits renewed, and with a deeper understanding of life's mystery. Let us carry the light of compassion and commitment to build a better world.
After our closing words, we will be having small breakout groups for conversation. In a moment, we will hear a short postlude song. If you do not wish to participate in the small group conversations, please use that time to log off. If you choose to stay, you will get to choose which breakout room you would like to join. One option will be for newcomers to join me. One option will be to join someone from our care team if you would like to share more personally and deeply about whatever is on your heart. One group will be led by Jacqueline and Reverend Leah to discuss the meaning of the Jewish High Holy Days. Another group will be led by Reverend Christina to continue discussing the themes of the service. And one final group will be for informal, unmoderated chit-chat. If you have any trouble selecting your group, just stay here and we will help you. And with that, may you go in peace, knowing we continue to embrace each other from near and afar.